Hi, I am Peleg and it's my pleasure to offer you the recording of the Creative High Growth Shabbat session on overcoming money anxiety in uncertain times. Before we dive in, I'd like to offer you a couple of tips on how to make the most of this enriching listening experience. This session is a working mentoring session. Everyone on this call was engaged in the exercises we did, and I encourage you to do the same. Treat this recording as a working session. Be a participant, not just a listener. Take this opportunity to do some important work with yourself. So, my advice: choose a comfortable and quiet environment where you can listen without interruptions. Have a notebook ready. We're going to do some writing. A candle to light for yourself, and a pair of good quality headphones that would help you dive into this work even better. Finally, if you'd like to receive a personal invitation to attend a future Creative High Growth session, they're free for our community. Make sure you subscribe to my Mentoring Notes newsletter using the link below. So, thank you for your precious attention. Enjoy. So, hello everybody, and welcome to this Creative High Growth Shabbat session on overcoming money anxiety in uncertain times. I'm Peleg Top, and I'm really glad you're here. I am in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the land of enchantment, as we call it here. And I'll be your teacher and your guide for our time together today. I also have the extreme pleasure in welcoming one of the most beautiful, smart, creative humans that I know to serve us as my co teacher, Mr. Ed Gandia. Hello, Ed. Um,
Hello.
hello. Tell us, where are you coming from, Ed?
I am outside of Atlanta, Georgia.
Outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Beautiful. Good. So, Shabbat sessions are inspired by the essence of the tradition of a Shabbat day, a day of rest, a day of spiritual enrichment, and it's rooted in ancient practices. Shabbat comes from the Hebrew word shevet, which means to pause, shevet or Shabbat, to stop, to pause from the hustle and bustle of the daily life and to spend time reconnecting with ourselves to help us tap into inner sacred guidance, to take a mini sabbatical in your week and to attend to your inner world. If you know me by now, you know that I'm a big fan of taking sabbaticals and taking pause moments in our life. This session is your opportunity to step into a deeper space of reflection and soulful connection. It's a space that we create that is a sanctuary where each of us can explore their inner landscape and your spiritual path without distraction. The session that I offer our community are for the sake of introducing you to the creative high growth practice and also create a space for you to return and do this work in community. That's because something extraordinary and magical happens when we are in community, when we gather in community for the sake of supporting each other on our spiritual journey. Community is fuel. It's fuel for personal growth. It can be a safe space for you to meet yourself in your truth, to witness others on their journey, and be witnessed, and be supported, and be loved. And what I've learned is that being in community has the power to create a synergy that inspires and motivates and amplifies each of our individual potential. And my hope for you today is that you leave this session with a deeper connection to yourself, a little bit wiser, and a little bit more inspired and motivated to continue coming back into this inner work, into this creative high growth journey, as I call it. So thank you for creating this time for yourself, for being here. for doing this work. Um, Gandhi once said that be the change you want to see in the world. And this change starts with you. And by working on yourself, you create a ripple of change in the world. So we're about to go on a creative high growth journey together today. And Summer and you are not familiar with what happens in a creative high growth session. So allow me to share with you what we're about to experience. Um, I'd like to think of a creative high growth session or the practice as workouts for the soul. It's a practice that attends to our emotional and spiritual world. And we do that by using creative tools that teach and train us ultimately how to shift into living a life of abundance and keeping that abundance energy active. And my intention today is to help you connect to your inner self, access your truth, meet yourself, meet your wisdom, and begin to activate a creative energy in you that is waiting for you to access. I believe that every one of us has the ability and the capacity to heal themselves. We have the capacity to get unstuck. We have the capacity to become amazing, fearless creators in our lives. And sometimes all we need is a little guidance, a little push to our edge, um, some coaching, support from people who believe in us. My role as your mentor today is to teach you some tools that you can begin to implement in your life immediately, and guide you through creative exercises that will help you meet yourself in the most honest and authentic way. And sometimes I invite some of my beloved master students like Ed Gandia to co-teach with me and share their wisdom with the world. Um, there's a quote that I recently heard that said, really touched me. It said, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn." I'll repeat that. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn. So this session is about getting you involved in doing this work, which means this is a working session. So if you are not able to bring your 100% of your full attention to and participate right now, I encourage you to let go of anything else you might be doing that is hijacking your attention and show up fully for yourself. This is not a session to just listen to in the background while you're doing something else. This is we're going to have breakout rooms, and I'm going to ask you and invite you to connect with another human being. And for that, you want to be fully present. So before we dive in, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Even though we're meeting on Zoom, I'd like to treat this meeting as if we were together in person. So if your camera is off, I encourage you, please turn it on. And if you feel uncomfortable doing that, I invite you to lean into that discomfort and do it anyway. Think about it. If we were in person in the room, you won't be sitting in the room with a bag over your head, right? So we want to see you. We want to see who present here. I like to teach faces, not blank screens. Now, Ed and I will not be mending the chat room during the session. I find that the chat room can be highly distracting. So if a question arises in you or a comment, I invite you to first ask this question of yourself. See if your inner wisdom can guide you to the answer first. And if you haven't gone there yet, make sure that question is juicy and it can contribute to whatever it is that we're talking about, contribute to the room. And we'll have some time during the last part of our session for some Q&A and some what I call community sharing. And it'll be a chance for you to ask the question if it's still relevant, because chances are that your question might get answered by doing the work. Now, each of you came with a set of expectations to what this session is about. And since this is a free offering to the community, some of you may expecting that this session is designed to be a sales pitch, which many of these sessions can be. Let me say this right now, this is not a sales pitch. naturally, I would be delighted if you feel that this work is calling you and you want to explore how creative high growth mentoring can be a force of change in your life. And at the end of our session, I will briefly share with you next steps you can take in going deeper into this journey with me. But if you'd like to take this work a little deeper, um, at the end of our session, I'm going to also be hosting a meet and greet part. So it's sort of like off the record. You can stay along and engage in a more free-form conversation with us. It's unplanned. It's kind of like the green room of the after party. And oftentimes, some of the most juicy stuff comes up in that. So, so before we get started, make sure you have your notebook or journal ready, your favorite writing instrument. If you haven't already, right now would be a good time to plug in a good pair of headphones, get better sound, and have a candle ready to light. And again, turn off any distractions that may interrupt your journey. Okay, so for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I know there's a lot of you here that have just been introduced to me and my work through Ed Gandia or through other channels that brought you here today. So thank you for coming, and for those of you who are listening to this recording, because we are recording this session and we'll be shared this recording with those of you who weren't able to attend. Thank you for your precious attention and for doing this work with us. So my name is Peleg Top. I'm an artist. I'm a mentor. And I've been teaching and coaching and mentoring people for close to 20 years now. And I'm also the creator, the inventor of the creative high growth process, which is the foundation of this work that I do in the world. The sweet spot of my work with people is when they meet themselves in a point that they are at a crossroad in life, ready for a change, feeling stuck or disconnected from their inner world, their inner, what I call their emotional guidance system. And when people are ready to shift from living from that state, a state of fear and worry and anxiety, and shift into a life of abundance and create a free spirit, that's what I like to think that I come in as a guide and someone who can help you to reactivate your intuition, activate your inner guidance system so that you can begin to create your life from a place of confidence and creativity and self-trust. So I'm grateful to be here with you and spend this time together. Whenever I get the opportunity to teach this work, I'm thrilled. So, but I'm not doing it alone today. With me today is one of my master students and a powerful coach on his own, the beautiful Ed Gandia. So Ed, um, let me spotlight you as well. And
Hello, Peleg,
yeah,
and hello, everybody. Great to see
yeah.
all your happy, shiny faces.
Tell us a couple of words about yourself, Ed, and anything you'd like to share for those who don't know you.
Yeah, real briefly, I've been a coach now for 12 years. Specifically, do business coaching, and I work with writers, copywriters, solo marketers. Many of you guys here today know me. My the thing I tell people is I help this audience earn more in less time doing work they truly love for better clients. Um, Live outside of Atlanta with my family, and yeah, I'm just really happy to be here. This is a topic that's been coming up more and more, and I felt that not only did we need to address it, but we need to address it from a different angle. And one thing I want to let everybody know is if you do one thing other than the distraction thing that Peleg's already addressed, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind today. Um, you're going to be glad you did.
Thank you, Ed. Let's begin our session. I invite you to take a breath get here, just quickly do just a scan of your body from the top of your head. Slowly scan your face, your neck, your shoulders. Just slowly go down your body and allow yourself to get present. As you scan yourself, see if there's a part of your body that's feeling a little contrasted. It's feeling that it could use a little love, that it could use a little energy and nurturing. For me, it's my stomach right now. Whatever that part of you is calling for some attention, take a deep breath and breathe out some love to that part of your body. And take another breath and breathe in the love. Just allow yourself to get here. Pay attention if your thoughts are trying to hijack this present moment. Whatever happened yesterday, whatever you may worry about tomorrow, let that go. And simply just be here in this gift of space and time and community. And know that you are exactly where you need to be. And whatever part of you that called you into this space, whatever part of you that said, yes, sign up, go to this session, have this experience, thank that part of you. Is that part of you? Is the part of you that is your cheerleader? Is the part of you that loves you? It's that higher self part of you that is there to support you and hold the space for you. Let's be grateful for that inner wisdom that guided us to be in this time together and devote time and attention to yourself, into your inner world. Beautiful. If you brought a candle with you to light, now is a good time to light this candle and use it as an anchor to help you get present. And as you light your candle, allow me to share a few words to help connect us all in this virtual space. As we gather in this space, let our hearts be drawn together by the warmth of this fire. As we light this candle, may it be a beacon of the creative spirit that dwells in each of us. May this light remind us of our inner strength, our boundless imagination, and our shared journey towards growth and discovery. May this candle ignite a spark of inspiration, illuminate the path that we walk together, even as we are apart in this virtual space. And in the glow of this flame, let us find unity and hope and the courage to bring our dreams to life. So here's to the creative free spirit in all of us. May it flourish, guide us, and light the way. Okay, let's go. I'd like to begin by inviting Ed to share some of the observations and insights that we gained from the answer that I've asked you to provide us to the question when you registered for this event. I asked you, when you think about money, how does that make you feel? And all of you answered this question. And, we've had an interesting array of results, which I thought could be an interesting thing to share. So, Ed, tell us a little bit about what some of your insights are.
Yeah, this was really interesting because we had quite a few responses and several hundred people registered for this. And I categorized them by the tone of the language. So positive, negative, and variable. So variable, I positive, negative are pretty obvious, but variable was it depends on my bank account that day. Right. It depends on how I'm feeling. It depends on what my work situation is. It was that effect. So 4% were positive.
Just
That's
four.
it. Just 4%.
Wow.
Yeah, I ran this twice, and 4% were positive. Negative, 48%.
Wow. So
So
about half of
negative
us.
language. Half of us. Now, here is, I'm not, I was surprised about the positive, about how low that was. Not terribly surprised about the negative, just based on anecdotally what I've been hearing. I was really surprised about the variable, which is 48% as well.
Wow.
So what that told me was, well, several interpretations, but one of, I think, the most telling was, look, how I feel about money depends on external factors. The past few years when business was great, I felt great about money. Now it's not so great. I feel terrible about my money situation. And you can imagine why this is a problem, right? We cannot control the economic cycles out there. Those are what they are. So I know we're going to be addressing this head on, but it's so important. This goes beyond any system, mechanics, hacks, tricks. Those things don't matter if your view and your attitude and your feelings about money are guided by external factors. So I think it's a really good takeaway. And then I have one more, the three most common themes.
Mm.
I categorized it. I did several analyses on this. Three most common themes by far were the words anxiety, stress, and worry.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. So thank you, Ed. That was really enlightening. So I'd like to bring to your attention the question that we asked you because it was an intentional question that focused on your thinking, right? We asked you, when you think about money, how does that make you feel? And as you can see, there's a lot of negative emotions that come up as a result of our thinking about money. And our thinking is what shapes our belief system. What is a belief at the end of the day? If you look at a belief from a scientific perspective, a belief ultimately is a repeated thought. Okay? Repeat a thought long enough, it will become part of your belief system. And where do these beliefs come from? What's feeding these thoughts? And how much are we allowing these thoughts to shape our inner world and take over our state of being? So each of us has a unique iOS. I call it our inner operating system. This system is a lifetime of repeated thoughts that shape our reality. So what we think, we create. Everything that's been created in the world started from a thought. So our external world will always be a reflection of our inner world. So if we want to overcome anxiety and any other negative emotions that exist in us, especially when it comes to money, the work we need to do is first look at our operating system. We want to upgrade that operating system from a space of scarcity and fear and shift it to a place of abundance and love. And the path to getting there, one of the paths of getting there anyway, is our creativity. But if our creativity is not accessible, if we don't trust our creativity, if it's not fully activated in us, and if we don't know how and when and where to use it, when to tap into it, we will be living our lives from a place of reactivity, which means we react to life rather than be creators who create our lives. And anxiety, especially when it comes to money, can oftentimes feel very helpless and overwhelming and sometimes even paralyze us, keep us stuck from that fear of the unknown. And when we're in that anxious state, when we are operating from that fear-based state, we have very little access to our creativity and to our wisdom. If all I'm seeing is red, if I'm going to be in that state of being, right, I'm mostly going to be in fight or flight mode. And I won't have much access to the part of me that is wise, that is loving, the part of me that has guidance and answers to whatever issues I'm facing. I will stay stuck. I will feel like I have no idea what to do. My mindset will be more of a victim mindset than a creator's mindset. And this work is about shifting you into a creator mindset. If I'm in a victim mindset, I will continuously look for proof that my fears are coming to life. The fears are the truth. I'll blame the economy, I'll blame the industry, I'll blame the government, any other outer forces that exist out there will support that story. That's not a healthy place to grow from. Right? So we titled this session Overcoming Anxiety in Uncertain Times. And if you think about it, uncertain times are not just now. We're always living in uncertain times. Every time is uncertain. None of us can predict the future. It was an uncertain times 30 years ago, and 20 years ago, and 10 years ago. The future will always be uncertain. And when it comes to money, which much of our anxiety comes from, well, that's a whole other animal to tackle. All the worries, the fears, the stories that are being fed by our belief system that many of us have inherited from our family of origin. Whether we like it or not, our relationship with money is a story that oftentimes isn't us. What I've noticed in the 20 years of coaching and mentoring people is that creative people who possess an extraordinary imagination that is used incorrectly. When our inner operating system is fueled by fear, well, our imagination will basically be fed by that fear. And all we will find ourselves is able to think of worst case scenario. If it we will shift ourselves into worry and anxiety and depression and all the other negative states. A lot of it is thanks to our imagination. So for us to change our relationship with money and really truly overcome anxiety, not only of money, but any anxiety we might experience, we must first heal the wounds that we carry and nurture those wounds that are feeding that fear. We must first attend to our inner world and use our creativity, use our imagination in a healthy way so that we have access to our inner power, access to our creativity. We become creators. So think about that. Think about the worries and the anxiety that exists in you. They're all coming from your thinking. They're all coming from a poor use of your imagination. That's how I've learned to overcome anxiety and fear when it comes to money. I've learned to first understand my emotional guidance system and to use my emotions as my most trusted advisor. I learned to trust my creativity. I learned to know that I can always approach any challenge that I face, especially when it comes to money, with my creativity. But for me to trust anything, I must get to know it first, right? We usually don't trust what we don't know. And most of us have yet to truly explore and express that creative free spirit part of ourselves that can fuel a healthy imagination that we can apply into our creative life. This is one of the reasons that I created the creative high growth process, is to teach people how to access their intuition and wake up that soul artist so that they operate from a place of reacting, not from a place of reacting to life, but a place of creating life. Now, that soul artist lives in our emotional world. And oftentimes, that part of us is asleep. It's hidden under layers of fear and self doubt and pain and wounds. And we allowed that part of ourselves to shape our story. Waking up our soul artist is the first step. Keeping your soul artist alive and nurtured is the practice, because our soul artist is nourished by self-love. And if I am in a state of self-love deficit, I'm going to have a hard time allowing my soul artist to express itself and activate and inform my creativity. This is why self-love practice is a crucial part of this process. I also learned that when I love myself, I trust myself. I make better financial decisions that are coming from a place of confidence and power. And when my creativity is active and healthy, I can trust in that gift of creativity to support me no matter what uncertain times I may be in. So the work that we do in these creative high growth sessions is about healing the old programming, the old stories, and getting in touch with our intuition and our truth so that we become equipped with new tools to overcome any negative emotion state that we might be in, we might find ourselves, and get back into alignment with our power, with our strength, with our essence, with our truth. So today's session is a small step in overcoming your money anxiety. You know, this work takes time and devotion. There's no quick fix here. Each one of us carries layers and layers of stories and fears and doubts and beliefs that we have nurtured our entire life. And shifting that, transmuting that into a space of creativity and abundance, it takes work. So Ed and I will guide you through a couple of exercises to help tease out some of the unhealthy money story and teach you how to use your creativity to begin to address any of the anxiety or the worries that may come out of this story. My goal here is to begin to help you liberate your creativity from the prison it may exist right now and help you meet yourself in a new way that can connect you to your creative free spirit, to your imagination, and to your higher self, which is, I believe, our ultimate and best guide. So, um, Ed, I'd love to invite you to share from your experience a little bit about how you overcome your money anxiety and as it relates to this work that we're doing.
Yeah, so thank you, Peleg. I guess a couple of things. First of all, I completely agree with you that this is a journey. Today, for many of you, will be the first step. I am still on that journey. I wish I could tell you that I am liberated from money anxiety. No, not at all. But I am a heck of a lot better than I was a year ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago. Way better. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I come from a family of people who worry about money. And that's been the case since I can remember I was a little kid, and I just remember growing up in the 70s. And I remember, I mean, there were moments where things got so bad that I remember my family having to really cut back. I mean, there was a point, and keep in mind, I grew up in Puerto Rico, so this is the Caribbean, this is the tropics. We had to stop using air conditioning and
Wow.
just using fans. And these are houses made out of concrete, really hot. They absorb that sun all day, and then they radiate that sun inside during the evening. Um, so I remember that. I remember how our meals changed. Like the food my mom was making changed. Of course, as a little kid, you don't notice that there is a problem, but it does leave a mark. And eventually you realize, oh, I see what my parents were going through. So, anyway, there was that history. And I think many of us can relate to that. My journey started shifting when I realized that I am not helpless, that it's not hopeless. Remember, I said earlier these external factors. I was one of the variable people. I wasn't negative and I wasn't positive. I was both. It just depended on my bank account, right? And what the money that was coming in. And a shift started happening, and I realized, wait a minute, I can create and change my situation as a creator. And at first I wasn't using this language, but I am empowered. I don't have to be ruled by external forces. Something you taught me, Peleg, a few years ago, which I absolutely love. And when you first said it, I thought this is ridiculous. You said you can, as a creator, you can create money. You can create. I'm thinking, I don't have a printing machine, so I don't know what you've got in your basement, but I don't have one. It took me a long time to really warm up to that idea, but it's so true. One of the gifts that we all have as creative people, self-employed people, we can make decisions. We can create, we can innovate, we can take chances and risks. The problem is it's really hard to do that if you're in a victimhood state. Okay. And I started shifting from that, and I started realizing that I could create money. Okay. And we're going to be talking more about that today, by the way. That seems like a fluffy term, but I could come up with new ideas, new products, new services, other ways to help my clients, my audience. And I started doing that, and it worked. Not everything worked, but a lot of things worked. And it liberated me to start taking chances, start taking more risks with less worry and anxiety. Some of those ideas paid off. Most of them didn't. Okay. And most of them to this day don't work. That's okay. I don't freak out like I used to, because I know that some things will. I know that I'm being taken care of. I know that I can always keep trying and keep innovating. And then that, as I got into this virtuous cycle of creativity, I I started seeing and experiencing other breakthroughs. I started seeing opportunities more often. It's really interesting, and you touched on this earlier, Peleg. When you're in a state of fear, first of all, you guys may be familiar with the amygdala. Amygdala is a part of your brain that's all about fight or flight response. When you see fear, or you experience fear, when you see something, when you see danger, when you're watching the news or reading the news, your amygdala is on high alert. And what it does is it shuts the other parts of the brain that enable you to think creatively, that enable you to see outside of yourself, because your body is trying to focus all of its energy on survival. It's trying to make sure that I can run away from that saber-toothed tiger. It saved us for tens of thousands of years. We don't live in that scenario, in that situation anymore, but we still operate that way. So when my amygdala was under control, I started seeing opportunities. I started understanding that it was fear that was driving me. And I love a quote that I came across around that time by the founder of Whole Foods, John Mackey, somebody I really admire. He said, "There is no fear in the moment. No fear in the moment. Fear is always about the future." And it took me a while to really understand what he meant. But think about it. Unless you're walking around and suddenly find a tiger in front of you or a dangerous animal, you're not walking around in fear. At that moment, you're not in a state of fear. I want you to really think about this. Anytime you experience fear, it's really about the future, isn't it? It's an imagined future, something that may or may not happen. And because we're creative people, like Peleg said, we have a very wild imagination. I have created scenarios in my mind that could win Academy Awards. Honestly, they could be turned into a screenplay. If I could download that into Chat GPT, it would create, right, the best screenplay. So that's a gift and it's a curse. Okay. We need to figure out, and this will be the first step today. How do we get into a state and a mindset where we can use that creativity for good rather than for fear? But I always want you to remember that fear is always about the future. You cannot be fearful in the moment. Think about every test you took in school. The fear and the panic was always until you walked into the room and got the test in front of you, right? Any competitive sport, you're not feeling fear when you're trying to catch the ball or trying to run. It was everything before it. It's no different here. Okay. So I I would urge everyone to remember that you're a creator. You're not a victim. You have everything in you that you need to get to a better place in terms of creating money, getting to a better money situation. So that's,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
What
hope
was
that
that quote
helps.
again? The fear does not
Fear,
exist.
there is no fear in the moment. By the way, I don't know if this was, this is not something he wrote. This isn't a podcast I heard.
Yeah.
I had to pull over and rewind. I said, that is so powerful. He said there, and I wrote it down. There is no fear in the moment. Fear is about the future. And this prevents people from being successful.
Yeah. That's really powerful. You touched upon something that's really that I wanted to expand just for a minute, Ed, and that's the idea of um, the environment that we create, that we are in, how much it affects our growth. We are natural beings. We, just like in nature, when we want to grow a plant or vegetable or fruit, what it needs is light, right? Light and other nourishment. But light is important. You're not going to be able to grow anything in darkness. And if I'm meeting myself in a place of darkness, if anxiety and worry is my state of being, I want to pay attention to my environment, meaning we continuously consume negativity from the outside world. If you want to truly shift and work on yourself and begin to grow, begin to create boundaries with yourself as to what you're allowing into your consciousness. I would encourage you to take a media fest, to get off social media, to stop listening to the news, to stop. I mean, the news is just all about negativity. The news is just that's what gets clicks and it's what sells papers. So um, I
Well,
can
they're all
tell you
about activating our amygdala. I mean, that's really, they've
absolutely,
done their job. If it bleeds, it
absolutely,
leads, right?
yeah, yeah. I took 2 years off, a 2 year sabbatical in 2015 and 2016, and traveled. And in those 2 years, I made myself a few promises. And one of them was don't watch the news, avoid the news, and avoid social media. It was not easy because I was addicted to the news and social media. There was definitely some withdrawal that I had to go through. But I can tell you that during those 2 years, if something really important happened in the world that I needed to know about, I would find out about it. It would reach me through conversation, through meeting people, through just being alive in the world. But 98% of what I was consuming before that activated my fight or flight or my fear state of being was irrelevant. Didn't even matter. So getting to the present moment is a first step in doing this work and overcoming your anxieties around anything. And I'd like to usher us into a space where we each of you can meet yourself and begin to practice just getting here into this moment and see what that feels like. So um, this is where we get to begin to do the work in the session. So I invite you to um, open your journal book. I like to call them journey books because I have a journey book that I write in and reflect in, and it is my daily companion where I meet myself there every day. So we're going to begin with a simple inquiry. And I always believe that it's important to inquire where I'm coming from. If there's something that I want to change, to heal in my life, I want to really understand what's underneath it, what's feeding it, what's coming from. So I want to give you a short exercise. I'm going to give you about, 8 minutes to do this exercise. And I'm going to give you a creative high growth inquiry. And what that means is I'm going to give you a sentence stem, and I want you to write this sentence out and then complete it with the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay. So I want you to do that as many times as you can in those 8 minutes that I'm giving you. And it's really important that you don't use your computer for this, that you handwrite this, that you write the entire sentence to completion every time, not just the ending of what comes to mind. So the sentence that I want you to work with is, when it comes to money, I'm afraid that blank, whatever comes. I'll say it again. When it comes to money, I'm afraid that blank. So for example, when it comes to money, I'm afraid that I'm going to lose my house and live under a bridge with a shopping cart. I mean, I really want you to address anything that comes up to you that when it comes to money, what are you really afraid of? What is the story saying? As many endings as you can. Take you to the magical space of the New Mexico desert. When it comes to money, I'm afraid that blank. you might feel that you get stuck in answering this question. I encourage you to push through that. If you feel that you're stuck or you've exhausted your answers, write gibberish for all I care. Keep the hand moving and see what comes out, right? Don't let resistance stop you from this inquiry, this exploration. There is no right or wrong answer here. We're going to take one more minute, so keep going. When it comes to money, I'm afraid that Good work. Good work. Now, here's what I want you to do. This is where we're going to start applying some creative high growth techniques to this exercise. So you've identified some fears, you've identified some anxiety. I'd like you to take first. What I'd like you to do is get centered. Close your eyes for a second, and I invite you to everyone, please. This is important, including you, Sarah. Close your eyes for a second, and I want you to do your best in getting in touch with a part of yourself that I like to call our higher self. It's that part of ourselves that lives in a space of love. It's the part of ourselves that is nurturing and caring, and the part of ourselves that carries no fear. It is fully operated from love. It is you at your best. It is you in the most creatively free space that you meet yourself. That part of yourself has a voice. That part of yourself exists. But oftentimes, it's hard for us to access that part of ourselves because we spend too much time in our lower self part, our anxious, our worried, our fearful. So I'm inviting you to take that anxious and fearful part of yourself for a minute and tuck it away in a beautiful little corner and welcome the wisdom of your higher self into this conversation, into this process. Allow that part of yourself to express itself. That's where your wisdom is. That's where your truth is. That's where opportunities and optimism lives. That's where creativity comes out of. That part of yourself is the part that we want to invite to the second part of this exercise. I want you to go back to your notebook and take a look at what you wrote, and pick out of all the statements that you wrote. Pick one. Pick one that feels like a real threat, like a real fear, something that you find yourself meeting most often, something that pops up by itself, something that is causing you this ongoing anxiety that you feel around money. And what I'd like you to do is address that fear, address that worry with one or two or three creative solutions to what you could possibly do in case that happens. Okay. So, for example, if what I wrote in my statements is, when it comes to money, I'm afraid that I will lose my house. Okay. Did anybody by any chance write that down? Could be. Yep. Some hands are coming up, right? So what I want you to do is take that statement and address that statement from the voice of a higher self. So if you lose your house, what else could you do? What other creative ways could you address the situation? Now, it doesn't mean that you'll do it, but I just want you to experience, just brainstorm ideas. Your higher self is just giving you suggestions. Well, if you lose your house, then well, you could go live with your mother, or you could go travel for a while, or you could what other creative ways, how could you use your creativity to meet yourself at that point if that worst thing that you're afraid of that would happen actually happens? Okay, so we're taking you into the future and we're asking you to meet your higher creative self at that point and give you some advice of possible things that you could do. There's no wrong answers here, right? But I'm going to give you maybe 3 minutes to just brainstorm some solutions, some things that you can do to help and support yourself in the event that happens. Okay, so I'll give you about 3 minutes for that. encourage you to think about some ridiculous answers as well, right? Allow your imagination to run wild here for a little bit. We'll take one more minute. Think about one other option, something that is completely crazy that you could do, something creative, something funny. Okay, good work. So, for you who is listening to this recording, this is the point in this session where I've invited the participants to enter into a private breakout room and share from the work they just did. So, coming up next are a couple of shares that people offered after they had a chance to talk about money with their partner. So, first up, here is Matthew.
I come from a place in the Appalachian Mountains where when I grew up, nobody talked about money. It was always this social faux pas. There was always this stigma that came with talking about money. And even though I work in a place where people do talk about money, it still kind of looms over my shoulder a little bit. And I feel like that's something I need to become more comfortable with. So every time I get to flex that muscle or work that muscle out, that always, it kind of brings me a little bit of joy. And it also kind of in the same sense, kind of sticks a finger in a wound in the sense of feeling shame from my upbringing and from the experience of talking about money.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Thank you.
And if I can ask you, in this experience, was there anything that felt different for you as far as addressing some of the things that you've identified with creative solutions?
In speaking to others and hearing about how they view the concept of risk and how they manage risk in their personal lives, that has been another very really enlightening and vulnerable and honestly kind of healing experience for me.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
I'm going to give Mariu the floor. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Thank you very much. Thank you for this workshop. And well, what happened to me was well, two things. One was, talking to a stranger. I mean, someone that I've never, met before about my statement, which I noticed when I was sharing it, that the statement is placed in the future. And it's exactly what you were talking about. When we think about the things in the future, then the anxiety and the worry, it is automatically created. So my statement was placed in the future. So no wonder, why there's so much fear in it. And so And also I found very relevant what the other person was telling me about um, time and time and money, you know, as the equation that we want to be able to produce money, but also use our time to do the things that we enjoy and all that. And this was the you know, the statement around for this other person. And it just came back to me how I spent so many years being a workaholic and earning a lot of money, but just using my time to work and work. So you know, finding the right balance between the two things. So I thought it was a very enriching, you know, 10 minutes of exchanging ideas.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for sharing that.
Thank
I
you.
want to encourage each of you to take this exercise further and um, create time for yourself after we're complete with the session today to keep working with the statements that you've identified in our first exercise. So go down the list with every single one of the fears on the worst thing that could happen that you've identified and take that into your journal book and begin to address that worst case scenario with love. Begin to address it with creativity. Begin to address it from a place of, okay, if this happens, this is what I could possibly do, right? So that you can begin that alone, that exercise alone, connecting and speaking from that part of yourself, giving the voice of your higher self, your inner power, love, giving that voice space to express itself is part of the journey, part of the process of overcoming the anxiety. And the idea of this work that we're doing, and creative high growth anyway, is to help you begin to start a new relationship with that part of yourself so that it becomes the dominant voice that is guiding your life versus the voice of fear that may be present right now. And from my experience, one of the best tools to get out of the future and come into the present moment is the practice of gratitude, which is one of the key foundations of the creative high growth process. I want to give you an opportunity right now to touch that, to tap that gratitude part, grateful part of yourself, and give you just a few minutes, I would say 4 minutes, to go back into your journal book and complete the following sentence as many times as you can. And this may feel very awkward for you because it's an exercise that I believe probably never done before. Okay. And it's inviting you into a dialogue with money. So I want you to complete the sentence. Dear money, thank you for blank, whatever comes. I want you to come from a place of gratitude and complete the sentence as many times as you can in the next few minutes. Dear money, thank you for. Okay, let's see what comes up. just about 3-4 minutes of tapping into gratitude as an active exercise. When was the last time you said thank you to money, if ever? When was the last time that you actually had dialogue with money, if ever? Right? Does anybody have anything they want to share from this experience? Just if that's the first time you're doing it, how do you feel right now after doing this exercise? And every feeling counts. It could be positive, negative, whatever it is. But have you experienced any slight shift in you in the last few minutes?
Oh man, my hand couldn't stop writing. So I'm very, very, I'm very thankful. Money has been able to allow me to do a lot for myself, my family, and others. And so I appreciate this exercise because I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to doing this daily.
Yeah,
This,
beautiful.
there's so
It,
much to be thankful for.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Yes, Lori, Lori Ferguson.
Yes,
How do
what
you
I
feel?
found interesting was this exercise allowed me to see that money has worked so much as my partner in a way that I never quite realized, rather than my adversary, which is kind of how I've always thought of it. It's me or money, kind of a thing.
Uh-huh.
Whereas in reality, money has allowed me to get a good education. It's allowed me to travel. It's allowed me to indulge my friends. It's allowed me to meet wonderful, interesting, creative people. It's been a
Yes,
tremendous boon to me in so many ways. And
yes.
I guess I just never formulated that as clearly as I did in this moment.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, you know what? It's okay to love money. It's okay to love money. It doesn't make you greedy or bad. Money is energy. Money helps us create. Money helps us evolve. Money helps us invent. Money helps us move forward in our life. Why would we not be grateful for money, right? Amanda. Um,
Thank you very much, Peleg. Yes, I can second what the two individuals just said about money being, thankful. There is so much that we have in this world that we don't, we take advantage of, and looking at doing this exercise is really maybe comes to the conclusion that, well, like I said, there is a lot to be thankful for. And another thing is, I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, yes, money does help us to, achieve certain things, education and, a roof over our heads. But we as people, and I've learned from the previous exercise that we did in this session that, I trust myself so much at this point in my life where it's like, how could I let myself down? Of course, I know how to, achieve and prosper and whatnot, but, it all comes from our creative side. And I both of these exercises have just been, incredibly helpful. So thank you.
beautiful,
Thank you very
beautiful,
much, Flag.
beautiful. Yeah, we're going to move on. I'm thank you for. There's more of the people who want to share, but I'm sensitive of our time, and there's one more really important exercise that I want us to do before we wrap up, and that is addressing our thinking and addressing our belief system and addressing what we say to ourselves when it comes to anxiety or the challenge that we meet ourselves. I would like to introduce you to a tool that I have found to be an incredible tool for helping me shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. A tool that I used for many years and still do, in fact, to help me get back in alignment with my truth, get back in alignment with love, and overcome the fear, overcome the anxiety, and get present, get in the present moment. And that tool is the power of mantras. And mantras are statements that we say to ourselves, we say them out loud, we think them often. They are positive thoughts that help us shift, that help us transform our belief system. If I'm walking around in the world and my belief system is fueled by fear, it's going to be very hard for me to believe that anything's going to work out. So I want to train my mind to learn a different way of approaching the world. And the mantra that I use almost on a daily basis is things are always working out for me. Things are always working out for me. This simple statement reminds me that no matter what happens, things are always working out for me. Even in the moment where I don't really, where I can't see how things are quite working out, they may not feel like they're working out. But in hindsight, when I look back at my life, every single difficult situation, every single challenge that I have faced has always worked out. And most of the time, it was for my benefit, for my growth. So I want to invite you to begin to work with this mantra and create something fun for yourself that can remind you that things are always working out for you. I want to invite you to go back into your notebook right now and start a brand new page. And on that page, write the statement, things are always working out for me. Biggest letters you can. Decorate the page. If you have color pencils, color markers nearby, use them too. Make it fun. Just think about that mantra as you are drawing this page. This doesn't have to be perfect. Think about this as a doodle. Make it fun. So I'll give you 3 minutes to fill up the page with this mantra. Have fun with it. And when we're done, I'll tell you what the next step that you're going to do with what you're creating right now. So let's go. 3 minutes. Things are always working out for me. Okay, good work. Things are always working out for me. And here's what I want you to do with what we just created. I'd like you to rip this page out of your notebook and tape it to a place in your house that you visit often. I like to tape this to my bathroom mirror. That's a place I visit at least twice a day. And every time I'm in there, I'm reminded, oh, things are always working out for me. Because remember, a belief is simply a repeated thought. And the more you think that things are always working out for you, the more your brain hears that thought, the more your brain sees that statement, the quicker you will begin to notice how you're not feeling so anxious anymore when it comes to money. So, this is just one tool, one step that you can begin to take. And a lot of these tools that we are using in our creative high growth practice, they're called a practice, right? It's the repetition that makes things work, that makes things click. So have fun with this. And if you'd like to report to me in about, I don't know, 7 days, after using this mantra for 7 days, I'm curious to hear from you if you've noticed any shift in your overall state of being, in your overall level of anxiety when it comes to money. I'm sensitive of the time, and I want to and invite Ed to share any kind of final thoughts that you have about what we've talked about so far as you reflect on from your journey, Ed, as far as how money shows up in your life and how um, yeah, anything else that you're inspired to share.
Yeah. So, God, there's so much.
Right.
Where do I even start? Because my mind has been. Of course, I knew we were going to do this mantra thing, and you've showed me that before. But it's funny how you need to hear something repeated over and over again. So it's funny. This morning, I'm running errands around town, and I started saying it. This is going to sound really hokey, but I started saying it in the car over. I kid you not, 6 straight green lights. That never happens where I live. I would say it and it was red. And as I said it, it's like the roads opened up. And I think it's a really beautiful metaphor for the fact that, when you put yourself in a state of abundance, of trust that things will work out, that you have the creative spirit and energy to change your situation for the best, you are really empowered to create a better life for you. I want everyone to know that everyone here has that. You don't have to be a victim. You can be in a really tight spot, and we all have been, but you have what it takes to get yourself to a better place. The journey may be painful, it may be full of obstacles, but you have it in you. And, it's funny, when you came to me, we've worked together, you and I, for about 12 years on and off. I don't know if you know it's been that long. It's been a long time. I was a young guy. We were both young when we started. And look at us. Um, I I was in a weird place about a year and a half ago. You started talking to me about working with you through a different process, through the creative high growth process. And I know you had been doing this, but you and I had never really talked about it. That couldn't have come at a better time, because I was in a inflection point in my business where things are starting to crumble, and I didn't quite realize it. And it's exactly what I needed to give me the tools and the understanding that it's okay. The external world doesn't have to dictate the internal world. I create from within, and I can shape my external world. And let me tell you, I, over the past year, have learned to really trust my intuition, my creative free spirit. I never thought I was an artist. I loved using art through the work you and I have done together. I didn't see the tie-in. I love using art to take risks. Remember what I said earlier about taking risk, innovating? I thought I was doing that. I was not doing that. And that is the vehicle that's enabled me to weather the storms of the past year. I've had 2023 was a really tough year for me in business and money. I feel completely fine. I did not lose a single night of sleep despite, the storms coming at me. And I really credit you and your work and a lot of the things that we did here today to helping me weather those storms. And it's because it's here. It's here. We have it.
Yeah.
You are a creator and you can shift your situation for the better. We have the gift of being creative people. We're all creators, but it's truly creative people out there in the world that we use, that is our profession. We have an advantage, I feel. And we need to learn how to use that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, what I've witnessed in you, the evolution that you have gone through is quite remarkable. And I know you've done a lot of work, and the creative high growth process, it's almost like what catapulted your work so much yourself and your creativity and everything that you're creating in your life so much quicker,
Yeah.
so much forward. Allow me to tell you a little bit about the creative high growth process as we wrap up our session today. It is a process that I created that brings about 20 years of wisdom and insights from thousands of one-on-one coaching hours that I've spent with people, and also from the experiment I like to call my life. And this journey takes you this program takes you on a journey of self-discovery, using deep self-inquiry and radical intuitive self-expression. And this process is a training. I train you how to tame your inner critic, how to peel away the layers of fear and doubt, and teach you how to use your creativity to actually create your life and not be reacting to your life. I offer this process once a year. The next one's coming up in April. And I'm happy to announce that we're currently taking applications for the 2024 cohort. The work is done in a group. It's an intense process. It's not for everyone. It asks you for a high commitment to yourself, because in these 100 days, we spend every day together. We have daily online work sessions. We have one-on-one coaching. We have group meetings, and that are facilitated by me and by a group of supporting mentors who have gone through this process themselves. They're powerful coaches themselves, and they are here to support every day of the work. So if you're feeling a calling to explore this work and go a little bit deeper with it, I invite you to visit creativehighgrowth.com and submit an inquiry to see if this program is right for you. It's not a commitment that I'm asking for yet. I'm inviting you to explore. I'm inviting you to create a conversation, an opportunity to see if this work is really right for you. And if it is, we'll get you sorted and sign you up. But most people are not ready for this work, as I mentioned. And oftentimes it's hard for people to understand really how this works. How does this work? How do I meet you every day in this process? And I'd love for you to experience that. And I'd like to leave you today with a small gift that can support your journey and give you a taste of what it's like to be in a creative high growth session. So in the chat room, I'm going to share a link for you to download a free sample of a mentoring session for my website that will help you get a taste of the creative high growth process. Whether you choose to go on this journey or not, I encourage you to give this gift to yourself. Download this session, take the time to do the work, and you may be surprised at what comes up for you. Here it is. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. And if you're listening to this recording, the link will be available down below. So I appreciate you being here. That's all I'm going to tell you about this process. If you'd like to stay on for our meet and greet, we can talk a little bit more about it, or not. Read whatever other questions you have. And I would like to wrap up our time together today and close this creative high growth session with returning to ourselves, returning to our sacred space, returning to the bells that we started our journey with as the official closing of our time. And in that time, I will share with you a prayer, a blessing of gratitude that has become a foundation of my life, and something that helps me connect to my higher self, connect to abundance, and, keep me in the game. So um, I invite you to put your pen down, sit back again, and close your eyes. Just take a breath. And first, thank yourself for showing up today, for meeting yourself in this vulnerable space, for allowing yourself to step into the uncomfortable and to begin or continue your journey of aligning yourself with love, of tapping into your inner wisdom, and for embracing divine love. We're reminded that divine love allow me to give with complete ease and abundance, knowing that love is the unlimited source of all. Divine love, let me be the conduit for your prosperity. Let me trust that all my needs are always taken care of in the most amazing ways, and that it's safe to give freely as my heart guides. Divine love, let me feel widely open to receiving. May I know my own value, my beauty and worthiness without any questions. Let me allow others the supreme pleasure of giving to me. And may I feel worthy to receiving in every possible way. Divine love, change me into someone who can fully love and forgive and accept myself, so I can carry love without restriction. Let everything that needs to go, go. Let everything that needs to come, come. Divine love, I am utterly yours. You are me, and I am you. We are one. And we're reminded that all is well and all is full of love. A deep breath. Thank you, Ed Gandia, for sharing this space with me, for bringing your essence and your wisdom and your truth to this experience. Thank you, every single one of you, for showing up, for doing this work, for staying on this whole time. And I do look forward to staying connected, and hopefully our path can cross once again at another creative high growth opportunity. Be blessed.